Well, welcome back everyone to Kitchen Table TCG. Welcome to another episode of a collector's guide to Flesh and Blood. We're going to talk about all types of different collecting things. We're going to focus in on collector. We do some gameplay videos. We do some live streams. We do some market updates for the investors. This is for collectors or maybe potential collectors who want to get into collecting Flesh and Blood and are looking for a place to start. If you check out a video right here, that is my most recent one that we talked about cold foils just in general. Today though, I want to talk a little bit about WTR, about alpha. I really believe that from now in the past and now all the way through the future, the WTR alpha will be considered the #1 collectible asset in Flesh and Blood. Now, I'm not talking about investable, although I think there's some truth to that, but I do think if you're talking about investment purposes, that Arcane Rising still has some opportunity there as well. Not that it'll be #1, but I do think that might be a better investment. But right now we're talking about collectors, right? Like, what is something that you as a collector add a little extra, excitement for having, and I think alpha will always kind of have that token. So we're going to talk about alpha boxes. Now I know you're like, oh my gosh, an alpha box. Like, I got this for $800. I have one of them. This was one of the things that when I decided that Flesh and Blood was going to replace my Magic the Gathering life and finances and gameplay, I said, no, I don't care how much it costs to have an alpha box. I want to have an alpha box. So I got it from Channel Fireball. I actually have the receipt in the back, like, as provenance for it. But right now, a box of alpha is like $4,500, and it spiked up to almost $10,000. And so you probably can't afford, maybe you can, but decently, probably you can't afford, like I couldn't afford to hop in to collecting Flesh and Blood and get an alpha box. That's not where I can start. So I wanted to give you some ideas of how to hop in to have some collectible exposure to WTR alpha, and what I think long-term is still going to be a really cool thing to be able to say that you have, as this game's going to be successful. So we're going to go to another camera and we're going to talk about it. I hope that you enjoy this collectible series. Okay, so assuming you can't get yourself a alpha box, I really think that there are two or three other significant options for you to start collecting in alpha. #1 would be the cold foil commons. And I know on my channel, I have talked about cold foil commons a ton, but I really believe that they are incredibly great opportunities for collectibles, as they are very rare and very short printed. There are 12 cold foil commons, and there are only 5 legendaries. And so because of the amount of cold foil commons being so much higher than the amount of legendaries, even though you pull a cold foil common one in every around 3 boxes, as opposed to three in every 4 boxes, as opposed to a legendary, which is 1 in every 4 boxes, the amount of cold foil commons is greater, making like a Brave Forge Bracers, there's approximately like 800 of them, whereas the cold foil commons individually in Iron Rot Helm, there's only about 1,000 of them. So they are incredibly rare still, but they also are much cheaper. So I would say a #1 way, if you can't afford a box, if you want to kind of make it cheaper to collect into alpha, it would be to get a full set of the Iron Rot equipment. I think it's an iconic opportunity, an iconic collection. I think in the future it'll be something that a lot of people really enjoy having. I think that it's a really great way to collect in alpha, and it's pretty cheap right now. With the market the way that it is currently in 2021, you could get a full set at around $1,000, I think, that you'd be able to do if you were shopping around and waiting, which is pretty incredible. Now, you might say, okay, that's too expensive. I want something a little bit cheaper than a full set. Well, then I think you have some things like finding your favorite class. Maybe your favorite class is Guardian, and you pick up the cold foil alpha equipment for Guardian, and you spend around $350, I don't know, somewhere around there for a class specific cold foil. I think that's a great opportunity because if you like Brute, if Brute is your favorite one, then that's going to be something that you really value having, and you will own a piece of history of Flesh and Blood in the future when this game is massive and it's huge, and people are really diving in harder. You will own one of 1,000 cards that were only in cold foil and never printed again for the class that you love. Ninja, Breaking Scales, and one of the ways to do that I also, I got mine graded, and you can do that. We'll talk about grading in another one of these videos. But you know, it doesn't really matter. Do what you want, but you know, kind of hop in. So then you're like, okay, that's like this is like really the bottom of collecting in alpha. This is maybe like the middle or a little bit higher. But if you want to split the gap, you can identify a highly played desirable card like Snapdragon Scalers or Goliath Gauntlet in the like $400 to $500 range probably. That would be a little bit more expensive, a little bit more iconic, and less class specific. And something like Snapdragon Scalers, I think, is a fantastic card to collect because you can play with it. You can use this, you don't have to shuffle into the deck, you could get it graded, and you can use this in tons of decks. You can use it to play with. It's not just a collectible or an investable asset, it's also something that has value in play. So I really think Cold Foil Commons is a super great way to go. But let's pretend now that you're like, oh man, maybe I want to give a little bit more. And that's where you start seeing the legendaries pop in. And legendaries right now are a great opportunity to purchase. It seems like legendaries right now are approaching their kind of pre-spike prices that were back in March of 2021. And I think that this is going to be a good opportunity if you're looking to collect into alpha, a good opportunity to pick up some of these cold foils, some of these legendaries for much cheaper as a result of the current market. So as a collector, I really value, I want to come back and say, an ability to collect alpha outside of the box. Obviously, I still think sealed box would be the ultimate kind of collection here for alpha, but I think it's a great way to step into the game. Don't forget about the cold foils. Man, they are incredibly rare, and I think will be a great collection piece in the future. Let's go back up and finish up this video. So this video wasn't meant to be some sort of flex to show off cold foil cards or a box or whatever. The heart of this video really is the idea that we have a lot of new collectors or a lot of new players coming in from Monarch and from the next set that's coming out. And I think what that's going to do is drive people to say, man, I wish I was around back in alpha. I wish I could own a sealed alpha box. And what I'm trying to say here is that there are other ways to collect into alpha. There are other ways to collect into WTR that are still pretty cost effective. Granted, the idea that in 5 years we are still playing this game, the game is still successful, because I really do believe that some of these cards will continue to see play, will continue to become iconic, and will continue to allow you to really value the collection that you have. And I think that everyone, if you believe in Flesh and Blood, if you're not just a player but you also like collecting, I really believe that the cold foil commons, maybe even legendaries if you can stretch it, are a great way to hop into this collectible world of alpha. So I hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again for another video. We'll probably do more of this series. I really like it. I really like collecting, and I think Flesh and Blood is a great opportunity to collect. So see you again later.